You're listening to the RMTV podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 10 of RMTV podcast. Guys, how was Magic Round?
Amazing time, man. It was
feeling
really good.
it. I'm feeling it though.
Got
Good,
the
worth
bucket
it.
hats, got the hats on.
Got the bucket hat. It's got to cover up. I forgot the sunnies. I should have brought the sunnies in. Little pit viper sunnies I had.
Still a bit hungover, but no, it was a great weekend. Jordan and I had a great time.
Yeah, run me through it. Friday to Sunday, what were the highlights?
Oh, well, I mean, we landed Thursday night just after the Women's Origin game and pretty much went to the hotel and went to the casino.
Get up.
Somehow got ourselves up Friday morning and just went for a little walk through town. Went to try and find a nice tattoo parlour, but they were either closed, booked out or too expensive, which was sad.
Especially with NRL fans up there, man.
Well, that's the thing. The amount of NRL fans that got tattoos, I was impressed, but I was trying to be one of the first, but I was just too late.
Yeah, and then you kicked on to the Pass It On lunch?
Yeah, kicked onto the Pass It On lunch on Friday, which was brilliant. Chris put on a great event. We actually I reckon we got probably the best table in the house, don't you think, Luke, with everyone we had?
It was the main table. It was good. And sat on the same table as James Maloney.
He would have been dribbling.
Mate, Jimmy was pissed before he even got there. Like, funnily enough, they were auctioning off a Reece Walsh jersey.
Yeah.
And the moment they announced it was a Reece Walsh jersey, all you hear from the back, right in the little corner where Jimmy's sitting, effing pretty boy. And everyone's just lost it because you just don't expect it out of him. But he just went, mate. He went hard and he went hard.
Yeah.
So, Luke, how was Brisbane? Obviously, we went for the Broncos, Roosters. Was the city lit up in just NRL, like the streets?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Jordan about it on the way back to the airport yesterday, and we both feel like it wasn't as much as we expected. There was like advertising in the city, but I feel like they could have done more to it.
Do you think it's getting a bit long in the tooth?
I feel like it is, and I've been saying that all weekend. I've been the past 4 years, boys, and this weekend it was good, but it just wasn't as good as the last 3 years.
And we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show about Magic Round and the future of it. But, Geordie, it was your first time.
Yep.
First time at Suncorp.
Yep.
Tell us what it was like popping your cauldron virginity.
Look, it was good. It was good. Look, Suncorp was, I understand why it's called the cauldron now. Like, you see it on TV, but actually sitting there you can understand. I still think Brisbane fans are the shittest. Now, people are going to give me crap for that, but 20 minutes into the first half, we get the drum. We get someone whinging to security about the drum. Like, it seems to be a consistent thing when you go to Suncorp. But, look, I think it was a great experience. Definitely bucket list. Definitely worth it. If you get the chance to go to Suncorp, do it. And we got the win, which made it even better. So it was worthwhile giving it to all the fins down.
We didn't get the 2 points. We got the 4 points, boys. We got the bye this week.
Yeah, big buy. And Gussie's getting married. He got married today, actually, so congrats to Angus
it was today, wasn't it?
Yep.
No, very good.
So, for today's show, we're going to do the round review of round 9, and then we're going to chat about the NRL Draw this season, and then we'll dive into round 10, lads. So, let's dive into it. So, the NRL State of Origin game 1, our Blues, they got up 32-12. Mate, what do we think of it?
I watched a bit of the highlights because obviously we were on the plane there, but looked like a good game, and 26,000 people they got, just over. Eh?
Oh, it was an absolute ripper, and the NRLW game in Australia is just so entertaining. It is so fun to watch, and the atmosphere must have been incredible. And admit it was a shit weekend for Queensland, who went 0-5.
Suckers. Queensland don't get Origin or football. Sorry, I had to.
What I got to say, though, is the NRLW, I think it's the best women's league in the country.
I think
miles by AFLW.
I'll up you on that. I think it's the best women's sport in the country.
Bingo. Because I want to make a point about this, and it's come out. Kennedy Charrington said a bit about it. But these girls went into this game without a proper warm-up. Like, there's no NRLW season yet, boys.
No.
These girls are playing Origin. Like, could you imagine getting a Blues and Queensland men's Origin team and they haven't played a single game of NRL? The work they put in, like, I know there's trainings and there's, like, women's competitions, but nothing to the extent of what they had to play on that night. So that's a huge credit to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, a lot of them are coming from their club, not even NRL club, but their local club footy.
Or their job.
Yeah, and their jobs. Yeah, it's and that's a big conversation I've had in Clubland with a lot of sponsors about, if they do an ACL or something like that, it's not, 6-month recovery, the club's looking after them. It's 6 months out of their normal job.
Yeah, well, Abby Church, like, she's had she's a paramedic, so she even admitted in a post-game interview, she's like, I got lots of overtime to make up because, they've been great to me to let me come up, but I got to make those hours up somehow.
Yeah. Would you boys on May 15th go to Allianz for game 2? There could be a pretty decent crowd there for the women's origin.
I'll be honest, I'm not against it. I like the women's game.
I think it'd be a good
I
shout.
enjoy it.
We should do it.
What do you reckon they'd crack there? 30,000?
Or is that Thursday night, weeknight? Or
I think it's a Thursday.
Traditionally, yeah, Thursday is a weeknight.
Luca Booth's still in Magic Round
I reckon if
mode.
they did like a Sunday night, they'd probably get a better crowd.
Yeah, on a Sunday night?
Yeah, or maybe a Saturday. Like I don't know.
I think you're still hungover, mate. All right, let's
let me find the calendar out.
Yeah, no, it's a Thursday.
Yeah, definitely a Thursday. Yep.
Look, they pulled 26,000 up at Suncorp. I think they can probably do the same, if not better, in Sydney, especially the Blues and Izzy Kelly, or an absolute phenomenal player, who just has. I've known Izzy for quite a while, and I've seen her play for local footy up on the Central Coast, and to see her go from being one of the dominant players in the region to now being probably the foremost female rugby league player in the world, has been absolutely fantastic to watch. But yeah, I think they'll have a good crowd on the 6th. On the 15th, and yeah, it'll be. I think I'd hate to say, but I think New South Wales will take the series.
I do think the NRL done it right by doing it right before Magic Round, though, because you had a lot of people flying Thursday. So, you're up there. You got to do something to kill a few hours, so you might as well. So, I think it was smart scheduling.
Yeah. I honestly didn't expect that many people to go to that game on Thursday
Look,
night.
Queenslanders, win or lose, they love their footy.
Love the rugby league. Bro.
Rugby league, and rugby league fans love rugby league. Yeah. So, but look, hats off to the NRL for making it a standalone game, not a curtain raiser. It's showing the girls the respect that they deserve, and showing the faith that the game and the community, rugby league community, has in it as well.
It also shows the faith the TV deal has in it, because that's Channel 9. So Channel 9 could have said, nah, put the Sharks Eels on Thursday, do the Women's State of Origin on Friday before the Roosters Dolphins, but they didn't. So credit to them, man. Credit where it's due.
Yeah. All right, well, let's dive into the first game of the NRL. It was Sharks versus the Eels. So I tipped the Eels here, but I think Sharks, they proved to be too good. I think Nico had a decent game, and then Trindle, Kennedy did their thing. They got up 28-18. What do we think, lads?
Yeah, no, they did pretty well. Para looked good at the start. But, yeah, Nico Hines, he killed it. I reckon he killed it.
I think Dylan Brown had a decent game, actually.
He did,
him and the Fox. I thought Fox had a great game.
2 tries Foxy scored, eh?
Yeah, Fox had a good game, but I think Dylan Brown, if you watch what he was good at, he was good off the back of others. There was nothing individual about it. It was off the back of Moses.
And that's where he works really well. And so many, you can say that about so many players. Like Jared Hayne. Jared Hayne in an average team is a good player. Jared Hayne in a New South Wales team when he was at his peak, he's an exceptional player.
100%.
And Dylan Brown is the exact same.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah, we're at Sydney Roosters Business Club that night. That was pretty good, eh, Benny?
Yeah, that's right. Preston and I joined, thanks to our sponsor, the Legal Problem Solver, joined the Sydney Roosters Business Club for a watch party at the Wing House in the EQ. It was just a great atmosphere and a good place to bunker down, smash a lot of wings.
I reckon probably between you and I, maybe 80.
I reckon we went pretty hard, didn't we?
Is that it?
Oh, here we go.
Come on, boys.
Here we go.
Come on, bigger effort,
How
please.
many wings do you reckon you could knock back in one sitting?
In one go?
We went on Saturday, and I think Jordan ate the whole restaurant.
Hang on, between you and Amelia, you ate more than me, but thank you. But my record's actually 62.
62? That's quite timid.
I actually was sick the next day, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
Well, for anybody at home, if you do hit up the Wing House, let us know what your PB is, and we might do a little challenge one day where we can see who is able to down the most.
Please. I'm in for that. Have to buy a minimum 50 on the first order.
Yeah. And, our Chookies, wow. 36-26. I don't think the scoreboard reflected how well we played.
No, that's right. Yeah, I agree with that.
We scored 7 tries to 4. I think Hugo had a cracky game. Bradley played well, and Bobby T, Rob Toyer, he's starting to really mould into a good player, eh, boys?
Yeah, he's finally getting those feet under him, and you can see that he's getting that, that confidence that comes with playing first grade every week.
He's a 1%er. He's getting all the small things right, and locking those away gives him that ability to have those moments of brilliance and flair that just, set the crowd off.
But, boys, Nafahu White. Again,
Wow.
Just the leader and just did not stop. How good was he?
I'm loving it. I was saying to Jordan the next morning, he gives me Sonny Bill vibes. He's just looking really
right.
good in that team right now. And I'm loving seeing him start every week in, week out.
Question for you, Luke. Do you think Nafua could become our next, like, JWHS leader?
100%. When just the way he runs that ball.
Oh, he played well, mate. It's the mullet. It's the mullet,
I
mate.
love it, that mullet. Just don't get rid of it, please.
It's just so free flowing. It helps with the aerodynamics as he runs.
Yeah. And and Teddy, mate. Like, he's that good week in, week out. You just don't actually realise, like, what he's doing on the field. Like, 271 run meters, 2 line breaks. And, you know, he could have bagged a try or two, but he was phenomenal.
Like we were saying at the watch party, you know, have a look at who's played for the Roosters since Teddy's come to the club. You've got JWH, Joey Manu, Cooper Cronk, just to name a few. And he has won every year bar one the Jack Gibson medal. So in a team and in a club that puts out that sort of quality talent, Tedesco consistently comes out on top.
It was almost like the year that he lost it was to Lindsay Collins. And Lindsay had a fantastic year that year and deserved it. But it was almost like the next year he came back and went, lol, jokes, I want it back.
Yeah.
It was just like, he's like, I'm going another year now.
Do you think they're going to rename the Gibbo to the Teddy?
Mate, they've got to name something after him because, you know, he's winning too much. You can't not give it to him, give something to him for it.
I think this year and last year somebody told Teddy, hey, mate, it's 2019.
Yeah.
I think as well he's been training with Roger Fabry in the off-season. And he, mate, just like his sprint work and, like, he's so bloody quick. Honestly, and he's after time his bloody pants get pulled down.
Yeah, but you know what? It's always a good night for the Roosters when you see a full moon. It's very rare we lose when you see Teddy's moon.
Yeah.
You know what would have been greater, boys? It was right in front of us, that try. Well, we thought it was a try.
Docker Clay.
Man, I wish that was right in front of us. We were like, wow.
You know what? And we spoke about this, I think it was last week. The more you look at something, the more you're going to see that it's not.
Yeah, and look, I think it was the right call. He did knock it on.
Yeah.
But, you know...
You don't think he got it down first?
No, he didn't. I don't think.
Okay.
No, so I backed the bunker in saying that it was a knock-on, but, yeah, you know, in the spirit of rugby league, like, that would just been... That effort, it deserved a try.
It's Magic Round. It deserved to have been given a try. And to be honest, I don't even think the Dolphins fans would have been that upset. Like, what was it? Went through, like, 12 sets of hands. There was about 8 offloads in there. Yeah, he could have thrown another pass and, you know, Wong or Radley or someone like that could have gone over, or Gussie, but, man, just give it to him. He deserved it.
Yeah. So the question I have for you boys is, we're one third through the way of the season now. Do the Chooks make the 8? Are we slowly crawling up the ladder? Are we going to get in there? What do you reckon?
Well, next couple of weeks, I was saying on the weekend to a couple of the boys, we got some all right games. Like, we got Bulldogs, which could be good for us.
Coming off a bye.
Yeah. But Cronulla and Tigers, Cowboys, like, if we play the way we have the last 2 weeks, I think we can, like, comfortably make it.
I'd say I'm still a bit cautious about that, making that call. I say definitely top 12. Whether we make the 8, I think, come and ask me again in another 8 weeks.
I'm sticking by what I said at the beginning of the year. We should get that 7 or 8 spot. The only thing that's going to hurt us at the moment is for and against. I think we need a couple of big wins just to, you know, make it look a bit prettier, and then we should be all right.
Yeah, look, if we held Dolphins to maybe like your 36-10, that would have helped. But, yeah. So, Lukey, mate, Souths versus Newcastle. Souths didn't really show much, did they?
That was an amazing game. That felt like Christmas.
It was Christmas.
Mate, just walked in and within 12 minutes, Newcastle just put 3 tries on them. I was expecting like a 50-0 game, but, mate, they played all right. Fletcher Sharp, it was his 21st birthday and he scored a hat-trick, which was really good to see.
He would have had a big night.
But even though the result, one player that really stands out for me for Souths is Jai Gray right now.
Yeah.
And he's just looking great.
When he went off, that was it for Souths. They were just out of the picture.
Yeah. But Bradman Best, he looked really good. I feel like he found his form again for the year. He scored a try and a try assist. I reckon if he plays like that the next couple of weeks, I think Origin's calling him for a starting spot.
Yeah, no, interesting.
Yeah, no, I think Knights were due for a win, and I thought Ponga played well as well. So
I've been pretty critical of my second team over the last few weeks, and it has been their attack that's let them down. So it's good to, I wouldn't be crowing too hard because it was a very depleted South Sydney.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'd put it like we were talking offline last week. We'd put our tips in, and more Souths players were getting ruled out, and we're like, it's too late to swap. But yeah, good takeaway for the Knights. You know, they will build some good confidence for them. They've got a big game coming up next weekend. But, yeah, I don't think their problems are solved too yet, and I don't think they're by any means out of the woodwork.
Yeah, for sure. And the next game, Warriors versus Cowboys. This was one of the games of the round, I reckon.
Yeah.
How do you view it, boys?
Before the Storm game, I was like, this is probably the match of the round. But Storm and Raiders just went one up, which we'll talk about later. But Luke Metcalf, 18 points, 2 tries. Mate, he looked really good on Saturday night.
There was something that Andrew Webster said before Vegas, which was Metcalf came to him and said, mate, I want to take SJ's spot. And after the first couple of rounds, people were like, mate, he showed it. He showed why he deserves that.
Yeah. But the Wars, they started off really strong. But if I was a Wars supporter, I wouldn't be happy, boys.
No, it was a no. It was a it was a perfect game for Magic Round and the sentiment of the weekend. But it's not a we're in a good spot to crack on for a premiership run.
Well, Drinkwater makes 2 more conversions. It's a tied ball game. We're going to goal point.
That's right. They only scored 2 points in the second half, and that was in the 43rd minute, a penalty conversion. So Cowboys came back, but
they were coming back. I had a cheeky little multi on it, and I thought I had the Wires to win 1-12, and I'm like, Cowboys are coming home real strong here, but they just held on. But the one thing I noticed was the crowd, mate. A lot of Kiwi Warriors.
Yeah, it was South Brisbane, so like that area between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, which is like Logan, Underwood, all that area there. Massive Maori and Pacifica population down there.
Plus, you also got to remember the Wires are pretty much everyone's second team, so there was a lot of support for them to hold on there over the Cowgirls.
Yeah. So, what were you going to say, Luke?
Yeah, I think they had one of the best fan bases this weekend at Magic Round.
I think they've got one of the best fan bases in general, to be honest. Like, you've always saw it when you were over in Mount Smart earlier in the year. Like, it's
so energetic.
Yeah.
I'll throw to you two because you were there. What was probably the best atmosphere out of all the games?
Was
100% that was
without a doubt.
Yeah.
What was the worst atmosphere?
Look, to be honest, it was a bit of a combination. I was really disappointed in the West Dragons game.
Yeah, right.
The fans were extremely quiet, and I understand like the West fans weren't happy, and I'll talk about it later. But
wasn't that just like was the weather a major factor in that?
I don't think it was the weather. I just think both clubs had supporters that went up, but they just didn't. The passion wasn't there out of a lot of them. Like the moment the Dragons had the ball, the Tigers fans just shut up, and vice versa, and it didn't have that atmosphere of just going for your team.
Yeah, I felt a bit like that with the Titans Doggies game. Doggies, they turned up, but the Titans, man, only an hour away from Suncorp Stadium.
They have no fans.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
What's
I was
wrong
really
with
shocked.
that? Like, I was yelling across the stadium at him just because I wanted to
fire up,
wanted to entertain you boys. But it was like, fire up. You live. There's a couple of Broncos fans who were laughing at me behind. But it's like, mate, you're half an hour away and you can't even show up for your team. Like, and it was their home game. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's just the story of the Titans, though, isn't it? It's always they're going to be the Paul Queensland child, especially now that the Dolphins are in the mix.
Oh, Dolphins definitely have a bigger fan base.
They're definitely the redheaded stepchild of the Queensland team, the Titans, and I can say that as a redheaded stepchild.
All right, Geordie, mate. So speaking of the Tigers-Dragons game, Tigers got up 34-28. What did you take out of it?
Look, not a huge amount, to be brutally honest, because they weren't that impressive, either team. Like, Charlie Staines, credit to him, first game since last year, came up with a double. Val Holmes in the first half done a number on Brent Naden and Sunya Taruva, but just second half went to crap. They were both just short. Like, it just felt like they were off. They couldn't get that final thing that they needed to do. But one thing I took out about it is a lot of people, and myself included, have been impressed with West this year. But West's biggest strength is their second phase play. They're offloading from, say, like your Terrell Major, Royce Hunt, and what they do off that, Luai and his creativity. But they cannot defend it to save their lives.
100%, yeah.
Their biggest strength is also their biggest weakness. But also, I think we have definitely seen the biggest bomb try in the history of the NRL. Like,
Unbelievable.
That was right in front of us, and I just went, oh, yeah, Sua's scored here. Like, Sua scores a lot of tries for a back rower. Yeah, sure. And then next the ball's gone, and I've seen Bullet pick it up and run, and I'm like, how do you not score that?
That could have been the turning point, mind you. Like, if he scores, Dragons could get a sniff, get back into it.
I'll tell you now, he scores, Dragons win the game.
I think that one play sums up the Dragons' last 20 years, to be honest.
No, yeah, 100%. And the thing is, it's kind of funny because I was having a look at New South Wales Cup results,
Mm.
and obviously Ilias got dropped. Anyone
Played
know
well, didn't he?
Anyone know the score between the Dragons and Magpies from the weekend?
I'm going to have a crack. I think it was Saints 60, Magpies 20, maybe.
Yep.
And Ilias got like 2 tries.
Ilias scored 2 tries and
Yeah.
two try assists. So the question I want to ask you boys is, and look, I'm going to defend Kyle Flanagan a little bit. I thought he had a reasonably okay game. He wasn't incredible. He made a lot of mistakes, but he played as the dominant half for most of that game, and I think he done a lot of good. But was dropping Ilias over Flanagan the wrong mistake?
Absolutely. Like, I've been critical of Flanagan for a long time, and the issues that he's having at the Dragons is the same issues he had at the Bulldogs, who were very happy to see him leave.
Mm.
And the same issues or similar issues that he had with the Roosters. The other side was when he was being coached by his dad, which was conflicting with what Robbo wanted him to do.
Sure.
Very weird.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not a professional rugby league player. I'm not going to say I know. I don't want to be one of those armchair warriors.
You could run off the back fence, Benny.
Oh, cool. Mate, I'd probably pull a hammy before I even get to the dead ball line. Mate, I'd be puffed coming out of the bloody out of the sheds. No, but some players like Jackson Hastings, some players are great players, but they're not first grade players. And I think Kyle Flanagan is one of those.
Yeah, respectfully.
You spoke about the Bulldogs as well, and like I was talking to a couple of the Bulldogs boys that we were up there with, like some of the fans, and he played hooker at the Bulldogs because they had a need for it. That's the only reason he played first grade for the Dogs, was because he could slide into hooker.
Mm. All right. Well, now we'll go into Titans versus the Doggies on Sunday. How was that?
Mate, look, Doggies fans showed up, which was good. Titans fans definitely didn't, so shame on them, given that they're half an hour away. Boys, Jacob Carraz.
3 tries, didn't he?
Hat trick, 227 run meters, 1 try assist. The only thing I can say he done wrong was genuinely a bat back where Khan Pereira went, "Oh, thank you," and went the length of the field.
Mm.
But I'd be hard pressed to see him not make Origin as a winger this year.
100%.
Because
I've had Carraz in my team from the onset.
I was half and half because of aerial. Like, I know he's got the footwork and he showed his footwork, his speed, breaking tackles, but the aerial was off for me. And then I watched him on Sunday. He scored a try and a try assist off aerial efforts. He deserves to be there. He played so well.
He came very close to coming to the Roosters.
Yep.
When it was all but confirmed that Joey was going to move on to go to rugby, and it was before Marky Mark was being put in talks, there was a lot of back and forth between his management and the Roosters to try and get him over to the Chooks.
Look, I'm not upset about Marky Mark, like that we have Marky Mark, but
Mate,
Carraz's aerial game was so impressive. Bo Firma, he was the shining light for that Titans team. He just, he scored 2 tries directly in front of us.
He did. I put him in my Origin team a couple of weeks ago too, so he's looking bright. He's looking bright right now.
He's a dumbass for the laziest professional foul I've ever seen, but, and then trying to defend it to Todd Smith, come on, mate. You're watching it with him. You done wrong. The Titans' second half woes, boys, they're continuing.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll probably happen all year, to be fair.
But Preston Sinbin, boys, did you see it?
I didn't catch it. I was at work.
No, I was away. I didn't get to catch it.
What do you think of it, Lukey?
I saw it, but I did not expect them to come out and say 3 to 4 weeks. Honestly, even though we're playing them in a couple of weeks, I'm glad he's fighting it because I reckon he's got a good chance of fighting it, getting off.
To
He'll
clarify,
definitely get downgraded.
well, no, so he can't get downgraded. He's a grade 1. So this is what a lot of people don't realise. There's a lot of people blowing up going, what are you getting 3 weeks for? He's getting 3 weeks because this is his 3rd offence. So it's a grade 1. He was if this was his first offence, he'd be looking at 1 week. So a lot of people are forgetting that the reason why. So they have to get him off fully, which at the NRL tribunal this year has been incredibly hard to get anything off. But I don't think it should have even been a penalty.
Wow, big call, mate. That's
I was watching it, and I've watched a few things today even about it, and I physically don't think he could have done any more to make that tackle safer given the position he was in. Because he never actually put weight on the neck. He actually opened his body up and let Tino fall through. So I don't think... Look, a penalty at most, but definitely not anything more than that.
Yeah. Luke, I'll throw to you, mate. Last week, you were in a mood. How'd you rate the refs this week, just overall?
Oh, mate.
Good, bad.
We had a flight back last night. I was like, okay, one sin bin, not bad for the week. Then just the game that we're going to be talking about soon.
Yeah.
He had to top it off and put our son had to do 2 sin bins in that game.
I think rightfully so, but even I saw a few hits when I thought, ooh, last week that's 10. And they let it slide.
There was a couple in the Storm game that didn't get binned.
Yeah.
That didn't even get penalised.
To be honest, I actually like the way the refs refereed this weekend.
Yeah, I think they
let the game flow.
put the whistle away.
They put the whistle away, and to be honest, they only pulled it out if it was a blatant high shot. Yeah. Even Sutton, I'm actually going to back Jared Sutton. I agree with the sin bin, especially that one of Papali'i and was it Ukatamanu?
Yeah, I'll touch on that when I get into.
Yeah. All right, well we'll dive into Penrith and Broncos now. So, I think we all tipped Broncos. To be fair,
we did.
You just can't write off the boys from Penrith.
I'm going to ask you boys, are the Panthers gaslighting the NRL this year? Like,
I don't know, man. Every year you just think they're done, and then they just pull that game out where
because that was vintage Panthers. That is the Panthers that I've expected every single week. It is the Panthers that have dominated the competition for the last 4 years. Well, we wouldn't say 5. But yeah, it was just like it was a class act by them. It's exactly what we expected, and I'm going to allude into something that you boys touched on earlier, with Kiraz and with Bradman Best. I think some of these Panthers players are playing for Origin jerseys. I think the timing's very convenient. But yeah, but overall, look, the Panthers just outshone the Broncos. The Broncos were just there. Like, I think the crowd were more active than the players.
Yeah, but I think as well, the reason why Penrith were able to do what they do and be as good as they've done is because they shut down Haas and Carrigan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the blueprint to beating the Broncos. You stop those two, you can do everything. And you see that. They tired them out so much that Cleary was able to just do his thing. But they haven't been able to do that to a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, no, I've got to agree with you, boys. We played them a couple of weeks ago, and like you said, Jordan, if you shut down Haas, you can go very far. And we saw the Penrith boys last night at the airport, and, mate, they had some cheeky smirks on their faces. Yeah. I've got to agree with you, Benny. I think they are gaslighting the NRL.
Yeah. If they lose to Cowboys, it's a gaslight and a half.
Yeah. Do you reckon there's some third parties put on, because we were talking about it before, about there's no odds of a team coming last, reigning premiers coming last, winning the next premiership. Do you think someone's done a little sneaky, like get their cousin to put something on Sportsbet?
Oh, wasn't me.
Yeah, mate.
It would be you as well.
And we'll finish off with the game of the round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raiders 20 to Storm 18, and I was watching this one and thought, Raiders aren't done here yet. I'm just like, something is going to happen. And KO Weeks with that last try.
Oh, the chip and chase.
In the wet, I saw footage on Instagram of just him doing the chip and it was just belting down rain. Pure rugby league, mate.
Ricky would have had a big party last night for sure, mate.
I love Ricky. I love Ricky, mate.
I can tell you now there have been some sore heads on that flight home.
Like the performance from the Storm, we were talking, they've got some big wins this year, but of late they're struggling. Do you think this is just them taking the foot off the pedal a little bit during the Origin period to see them come out flying towards the back end of the year that we're expecting, or is this something a bit more concerning coming out of Amy Park?
I think there's concerns, but also I think this has shown us how good the Raiders are.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably a point that needs to be focused on more than, oh crap, what's going on in Melbourne. Because Melbourne get Harry Grant back, and that changes a lot of that game. And that's what Harry Grant does. That's the style of player he is. But yeah, Canberra were just so impressive, man.
Yeah, I think it came down to discipline as well for the Storm. I think Bellyache said that in his presser. That's what killed him. Yeah. They had that game, and they're up 14-0, and then they just let it go.
They kicked the field goal, but bloody Liero gave away the bloody penalty.
Yeah, and then what summed it up for me was Ukadamadu. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong. He started pushing the Canberra player, then a penalty. It's like, man, in Golden Point as well.
Mate, and that's the thing. They lose that. They march down the field, high tackle, bang, you're over. They were literally getting ready to kick a field goal. Paps was out the back to kick the field goal.
No, I've got to agree with you. Harry Grant, he's a big loss. I reckon there's a bit of struggling in Melbourne. But Canberra, mate, everyone doubted him at the start of the year, and I'm glad they're doing well now. They're in the top 4. They're coming second, aren't they?
Jordan and I backed them. We both backed them in the tips on the weekend to get the win, and we both went 1-12, and it was like obviously it fell right in that space. And yeah, like like I said last week, the ability of the Raiders to pull themselves out from that deficit to the Dolphins shows a lot of character and the belief in themselves. And that came through in probably the worst conditions you could have had over the weekend, absolutely bucketing down. The pitch on the edges, you could see where they laid the new turf during the week. And it was basically like park footy there at some stage.
Just on that note, though, I'm going to give credit to the stadium. It held up better than I thought it would.
No injuries resulting from the turf.
No injuries resulting. The 10 metres into the try line was messed up, but when you've got front rowers doing crash plays there, that's always going to get wrecked.
I do like that, though. It's good to see players come off the field with a bit of mud on their jersey, not like they've just gone for a run around the training oval.
Yeah, exactly. Like, actually, you look like you've put a bit of effort in.
Now, I'll throw to you two boys quickly before we move on. Did the rain, was it a bit of a downer for the weekend? Because it was on and off. It looked like you were up in the tropics, mate.
And where we were, it was like just under. But in the South's Newcastle game, the wind was blowing the rain towards us. So it wrecked it a bit, but no, it ended up being a great weekend regardless.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good, lads. You know, the sunshine state, they say. So.
Yeah. No, look, it did. I think it ruined some people's weekends, but definitely didn't ruin ours. So just meant we had to get closer to the bar.
Just came back with memories and a hangover.
I don't know what a hangover is, mate.
The RMTV podcast is brought to you by FDS Eyewear. FDS Eyewear is your one-stop shop for quality, affordable eyewear. With the latest lens technology and weekly eye testing services, FDS Eyewear provides competitive rates over the larger optical retailers. Visit their store at Wentworthville Plaza, just a short drive from Parramatta.
All right, now we're going to touch on the prices of Magic Round. So, Luke, mate, what do you take out of it? Obviously, you've been 4 times, and when do you book? Like, do you book a month ahead, a month before it starts, or...?
Well, the first year I went up, I booked a bit late. I booked in March, I think. And I paid a crazy price. I think like about $1,200 all up for flights and accommodation and the ticket. But last year I booked it last year in November when the draw came out, like the day of Magic Round. And I didn't book it. Yeah, when the draw came out, I booked it then. And I paid, I think, about $500. Oh, with the NRL ticket, about $650.
So how much is, explain to the viewers, how much is like your day pass, or can you get a 3-day pass? Because I haven't been before. So
a day pass is about $80 to $90.
Yep.
And for a 3-day pass, it's about $120 to $130. So you're better off getting, like, paying the extra $30, $40.
Yeah, like $40.
And you get all 8 games, whether you go to them all or not.
How much do you think you'd spend on a weekend, obviously, with the lads? You going for what, two nights you go for? 3 nights? 2, 3
nights.
nights?
For 3 nights. Mate, I don't want to talk about how much I spent, but let's just say it was a fair bit.
Put it this way, my wife looked at the bank account, my little play money account, when I got home about midnight last night, and she didn't have any words, so I think I'm in trouble. Yeah,
because they're bouncing off, like Buzz Rothfield reported in the Sunday telly that the regular price to go up on the weekend was $2,372.
Jeez.
And that was flying up on a Friday and coming back on a Sunday. And the same flights booked this weekend coming would be $613 return.
Yeah, I think if you know you're going to go to Magic Round, you got to do like what Luke done this year and book early, because you just, look, everyone knows the moment they know there's an event on, they bump it up. So
well, we saw that back in 2015 with the flights coming out of Townsville
to
Sydney for the grand final, and that went all the way to Parliament. They were going off their nana about it.
Even
Bob Catter would have went off his nana.
Bob Catter does nothing but go off his nana, does he?
Yeah.
But even last year with the Melbourne game, Jordan and I made the trip down, and we had to end up driving down. Just when the special events, the flights, they just put them up.
Yeah, for the prelim.
It's so un-Australian, mate. Like, they just really jack it up for any big event. Like, I went to a wedding like a few months ago down to Melbourne, in country Victoria, and we're going to fly to Melbourne, but the F1 was on. $600 return to fly Sydney to Melbourne.
Well, that's what stuffed us up with the prelim last year, because the AFL Grand Final was on, and obviously the Swans were in it. So they bumped all the flights because all the Swans fans were going down for the Grand Final. So,
no, like, just anyone that wants to book Magic Round in the future, I would just say book as early as you can. Just get your group there and book it early, because a couple of my mates booked a month later, and they paid about $700 extra than me to stay in a hotel around the corner.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not worth it.
Because I haven't been to Magic Round, so like I love me rugby league, but I'm on the fence. It's like, do I spend all that much, watch it at home, or do I go on a holiday somewhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you want to do it, you book it early. You go, 26, I'm going. The moment the draw comes out, you book everything straight away.
Yeah. So Magic Round, it is at Brizzy till 2027. So lads, you might be booking somewhere else if they move it. Do you think they're going to move it?
This came up a lot, actually. There was a few people I was talking to just randomly while we were walking like through Caxton Street and all that. I don't know where you could move it to.
There's a couple of like good options, and after COVID, it was up for renewal, and Brisbane secured it again. It has to go like you've got to factor in the stadium's capacity. Like you saw how many people went through. I think it was 149,000 people went through the gates for the 3 days. You've got to look at accommodation, not just for the fans but for the players as well. You've got 16 teams trying to bunker down, have captains runs, physio, all like the village that goes with the rugby league team. So it's got to go to obviously either a capital city or a larger city. Larger city in Australia, I think like a place like Townsville, Newcastle could handle it quite well.
I don't think Newcastle could handle it.
Good trial run because Newcastle's got the Magic Round for the NRLW in August. So we can have a look at how that goes. But I think, and a lot of fans were saying this when it was up for renewal the first time, was that everything that they have sacrificed for rugby league during COVID, it's got to go to New Zealand. And I think if you want to mix it up in New Zealand, send it to Wellington.
Look, I would agree with you. I would do 1 year at New Zealand as a thank you, and purely as a thank you for the sacrifice during COVID. But something Luke and I spoke about was about like the experience, the atmosphere, and the aura. Like you don't get to walk down Caxton Street anywhere else. No one else has that. Allianz has Surrey Hills, but beyond that, where could you do it that has that ability? Like
Adelaide. Have you boys done an Adelaide overgame?
Never.
I have.
I've done the sponsorship with the Chooks there a few times, plus cricket, and you can pull it off there. Very boozy, very good way to sell the holistic Adelaide experience as well with the wineries and like the Yarra Valley.
Yeah, the Yarra Valley.
Up the Yarra and all that sort of stuff. So, one of the big selling points for Brisbane is that if you come to Brisbane, you can go to the Gold Coast, you go to the theme parks, you go to the Sunshine Coast. You've got that. Let's not just make a weekend of it. Let's make a week of it. You can do that in Adelaide. I don't think you can pull it off in Melbourne. I think it's just
you couldn't do anything.
It's AFL. Like it's just too AFL.
Oh, you need a stadium where you can fit 50,000 people in it. That's the problem.
Well, I was going to ask you boys, what about? I've never been to Perth. But
I was just about to say that.
Stadium.
Yeah.
How do you think it'd go there? Have you been to Perth? Do you think, like,
I've been there. I've been there for Origin. I've been there for the cricket and for the All Blacks and my Springbok. And yeah, look, that would be in Australia. That's where I'd take it. Yeah. Outside of Australia, I'd be banging the drum for Wellington.
This is what I've been thinking while sitting here. Perth, 2020, or 2028, the Perth team comes in. Have it there in Perth, get all the teams over there and just really introduce NRL to those AFL heads over in Perth.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll do well. You could get charter flights over to Perth, have a big weekend out of it. And it really could get, some...
When you say introduce the rugby league to those AFL guys, send the boys from Belmar over.
Yeah.
Send the Kennel over and just let them loose in like Subiaco or something.
They won't know what hit them, mate.
Freo wouldn't know what to do. But you talk about like big weekends though. Sunday Telegraph reported at the Caxton alone. Now, anyone who's walked down Caxton Street like you boys, we all
it's
have
very
now.
unique, it seems.
But there's multiple. There's the Caxton, there's the Lord Alfred, there's a few,
Is Gambaro still over the road?
Yep. Yeah, still there. But at the Caxton by Sunday morning, so not including Sunday games, 500 kegs of draft beer, 59,000 schooners at roughly $9.50 a schooner, so that works out to be 560,500. So there's nearly $500,000 at the Caxton. That's not including Sunday. Now keep in mind, public holiday Monday in Queensland, so Sunday night that place would have gone off. When we left, it was
very
going
sneaky,
hard.
isn't it? Being able to have Magic Round in your backyard and then back onto a public holiday.
I struggle to see. I think New Zealand deserve it, but I struggle to see anywhere with the facilities to handle the amount of people.
Do you think Auckland could do it? Because they've got Mount Smart and then they've got Eden Park. They're the two big ones there.
But if you go down to Wellington, because they've got the Bockies playing the All Blacks there in August this year. That's a purpose-built venue. They're building another stadium in Wellington as well. It's under construction at the moment. That is part of the pitch that this, because obviously, as you know, where Wellington sits, it's on the North Island, but it's at the very bottom. And it's just a short, I think, few
Pretty
hours.
much in the middle of New
Yeah,
Zealand.
and it's very quick ferry ride across the Cook Strait to get over to Picton and to Christchurch. So they're building another big stadium, so sort of like an Allianz-esque stadium there, as part of I think their pitch for more NRL games and more union games in Super Rugby.
Nice.
I think I was in Wellington back in December, and 100% it could handle a Magic Round easily.
Yeah, I think biggest thing for me, looking at the attendances on the weekend, the lowest one that I can think of off the top of my head was 46,000. Technically, that's what they say. There was empty seats, but there's people out in the fan precincts and that. But you got to have 50,000 capacity to do it.
Yeah. I mean, look, Andrew Abday, he's not against it. He said it on Fox League. So I guess we'll see what happens, guys?
Yeah, that's it. No,
I think they should throw a curveball and send it to like Mudgee or something, and really make the players stay in tents and caravan parks and all sorts of stuff. You just got the lineup for the one shed.
Like Bogan round or something.
It's funny you say that because the New South Wales Cup's actually trialling that this year.
really.
They're doing a a Magic Round, a country Magic Round at Tamworth at Scully Park.
Yeah,
Wow.
nice.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bunch of New South Wales Cup games. There's also going to be some CRL games out there. So don't laugh.
Speaking of New South Wales Cup, I just want to throw back to the weekend that was. Again, thanks to our sponsor, the Legal Problem Solver, I was able to go back to North Sydney Oval for the first time since I was probably about 10 years old.
How was that?
It was it's a lot smaller than I remember. And unfortunately, we were guests of the North Sydney Bears there. They were playing the Warriors. And it was like just a lot of memories. And one of the things I really enjoyed was seeing so many fans and who obviously have grown up North Sydney. They're still rocking the ARL merchandise, and they've got their kids there, and their kids are wearing Bears. That tradition of the Bears are still kicking on, and obviously they're going to come back into the comp soon.
So good.
But I felt sorry for the boys. They got pumped 56-8.
Jeez.
Which the Warriors are. The Warriors are leading the New South Wales Cup. They're top of the tables. And when you've got Tamare Martin, Tanner Boyd, and Freddie Lussick in the team, it was pretty much a training
doing
run.
Was Jet Cleary playing?
I didn't look.
I was going to say two lots of
been
Cleary
playing as
magic.
well.
Yeah.
I think
And-
he's been playing a bit in the New South Wales Cup.
Yeah. And like we were in the corporate section, and the corporate experience at the Bears compared to what it is in the NRL, I'll take the Bears one every day. It was the Bears beer, like their own brewery beer. Meat pie, sausage rolls, cheese balls, and fruit. Like that was as much as park footy as you can get. And the only thing missing was a democracy sausage.
I did see our great friend Eve from Legal Problem Solver today, and she did say that those pies, and her mum said they're the greatest pies ever. So
Yeah,
is that true, Benny?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I downed more pies than the Bears scored points. But,
Pretty easy to do, I think.
No, but it was just wonderful. It was a beautiful day in Sydney yesterday. So for me, that was the first time I met.
It's very nostalgic.
It is, yeah, and it was actually the first time I met Arthur Beetson. Was at North Sydney Oval way back when. And oddly enough, it was around food. He was getting a pie, and I was standing behind him, waiting to order. And he turned around and goes, "Oh, you're a little Rooster," because I had my little jersey on, and I was like, "I don't know who you are, but you're nice."
Little did you know.
Yeah. Then my mum's like, "That's Arthur Beetson. Get his photo, get his autograph." But but it was good. It was a good shout.
Yeah, just quickly before we move on, did you have sauce on the meatball?
I did. I'm not meant
because I did see a photo.
I don't suffer from a certain illness that deprives me of putting condiments on food.
Yeah,
Honestly.
Luke, how was your hot dog at Suncorp? Did you sauce it up?
Mate, no sauce. Definitely not.
Do you know what? You're the Winston Neville anti-hero. Winston, a good friend of the show over there in the kennel, he's doing his little TikToks each week of rating pies. Rating hot dogs, and he loads it up on sauce. You're like,
Mate, I'll just be straight up with you. I don't have time to load the sauce. I just want to eat the hot dog. As soon as I sat
Mate,
down,
when
man.
the man's hungry,
no gag reflex, just straight down the throat.
I'm not here to fuck around.
I'm just going to say, you're not here to fornicate with arachnids, but the time that it takes you to get it and walk back, you could have put sauce on it, mate. So all I'm hearing is excuses. You just like to raw dog it.
Mate, too much multitasking. Can't walk and put the sauce at the same time.
Yeah.
I was a couple beers down too that morning.
Only a couple.
Everybody at home, are you as deranged as Luke and have just raw dog a hot dog?
Yeah,
Or
can you let us know? Because if you don't wear sauce, we may need to judge you. Like, wear sauce.
I just
eat
go,
sauce.
If it's a hot dog, tomato, bit of mustard. So
I'm a barbecue man. I
Yeah.
love barbecue sauce.
I love loading up, getting the cheese on it, the onion, get a bit of
the full
bacon.
German
Yes.
style,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll give you that, Ben. Actually, that's a better option.
The RMTV podcast is brought to you by The Legal Problem Solver. The team brings over 25 years of experience in wills, probate, estates, conveyancing, property and commercial law. Connect with The Legal Problem Solver on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram.
All right, now we are going to talk about the NRL Draw Debacle for this season, Jordan, mate. So you've done some digging.
Yeah.
You've done more than enough digging, mate. Tell us, what have you done?
Benny stitched me up with a nice rabbit hole to go down, but I'll be honest, I actually enjoyed doing this because it made me realise that it's not as bad as people are saying. But there was a lot of talk. Obviously, the Roosters played the Broncos and Penrith twice in the first 7 rounds. West played the Knights. So I went through and was having a look at, what teams play, with a very short turnaround of 10 rounds. So, because by 10 rounds, you should be able to get through 9 different teams, you'd think at least. But I was having a look. Now, most teams play at least, have that sort of short turnaround to play a team 3 times in a year. So, for example, like the Broncos and the Doggies and all that sort of stuff. But the worst affected are the Titans. 7 times this year, the Titans have to play a team with less than 10 rounds separating their last matchup. So they played the Knights in round 3 and 10, the Dogs in round 2 and 9, the Broncos in round 14 and 19, the Raiders in round 7 and 11, Cowboys in 8 and 17, Warriors in 21 and 25, and West in 20 and 27. So they've probably got the worst end of short turnarounds between teams.
That must wreak havoc for their 5 fans.
Well, yeah, that is
6.
Well, what's Desi Hasler done to the NRL? Jeez,
Mate, it's because he's ruining the narrative of head coaches should not have hair. Right? That's what that is. This is punishment. But the Dolphins, the babies of the league, they've pulled out of this somehow good. Only once this year they have to play a team with less than 10 rounds separating them. And that's the Cowboys. They play them in round 15 and round 20.
Oh, breeze, mate. Bit of
Now-
breeze there.
But keep in mind, like with all Queensland teams playing each other twice, like they're the only team that's, avoided this. Everyone else has 3, 4, 5. There's a couple with 2, but look, there's a lot of just seems to be really stupid and really close together. So I don't know if that's a broadcast deal. We'll talk about it a bit more later, but there's a lot going on there that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I found that our Chookies, they went Penrith twice, Broncos twice in such early,
So-
period.
We're not too bad, but the
Where do we
teams,
sit?
the
Where do we
teams
sit?
that we play are a bit hard. Broncos round 1 and 6, we split that thankfully. Penrith 2 and 7, we split that thankfully. We got the Sharks in round 12 and round 20, which not too bad. Like 8 rounds you can sort of forgive, but we get stitched up the hardest at the end of the year. We have Melbourne round 21 in Allianz and round 26 in Melbourne.
Oh, yeah, that's close.
Like that's a stitch up when Melbourne are in fine form. So, look, we're not doing too bad out of it, but yeah, it's a bit tough. And like going off the back of that, I've also looked at teams that only play each other once because that's an interesting one. Because there's 26 rounds, or 27 rounds, but
27.
technically you only play 24 because of 3 buys. But obviously we have 17 teams, so you're not going to play everyone twice. So it's pretty even to an extent in terms of how many teams play teams. So the Cowboys, Raiders, Sharks, Storm all play one team only once this year 10 times. West and Dragons actually have the easier end of that. They have 7. All the Queensland teams, they play each other twice. And looking at last year, so I was looking at last year's top 8 because obviously they know the top 8 results before they release this year's draw. Storm, Penrith, Chooks, Sharks, Cowboys, Bulldogs, Manly, and Knights. That was last year's top 8 in that order. The Raiders and Warriors have scored it easy here because of last year's top 8, they only play them 6 times each. So they're loving it. They're getting the easy end of it. The poor Sharkies though, they've been stitched up. They have to play every team in the top 8 from last year twice, except for Penrith. That's the only one they miss out on playing twice.
And last year they got the easiest draw, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
But if you're looking at the top 8 from last year, they play everyone twice this year except for Penrith, which funnily enough was Vegas. But it's interesting. Like, you know, where are they coming from? Where are they working this out? Because, you know, like, it seems like every year we only play the Warriors once. Like, you know, that's a big game.
I'd like to verse the Warriors twice.
Mate, I'd
One in
love
New
it.
Zealand. Like, I don't, you know, who knows? I'm just having a guess, but maybe next year there probably won't be a New Zealand trip.
No, they normally do 1 year, one off.
Yeah, so I don't know how they make it. I wouldn't want to make it. It seems that bloody hard.
Oh, look, it is. And, you know, like I said, we'll talk about this later, but you're going to have broadcast commitments. You know, everyone knows Channel 9 and the Broncos. But it's a very interesting thing for me to look at this and go, all right, well, how do they work it? Is it truly random, or is it, all right, they go, you know, the Roosters played the Warriors at Allianz this year, so we're going to send that game. But why is it that it has to be the Roosters playing Penrith twice every year? Or, yeah,
I think
where's
they'll
it
look at a few things like last year Penrith Roosters did good viewership numbers, right? They're going to look at those games.
Yeah.
You know, Broncos are going to get their Friday night game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll ask you boys a couple of questions. Luke, you get around to a lot of the games. You take the drum for the chook pen everywhere you go. Do you think the way that the draw is structured sees the potential for fans to be disengaged from attending games?
I honestly don't think so, Benny. And the reason I say that is because we played this year, early rounds of the year, Roosters played Broncos and Penrith, and they both got different results. It was 1-1. And, for example, we got two teams this year, within 6 rounds we are playing them, and they're both at different grounds, like interstate. So I feel like it's not going to change because the fans in Brisbane will go regardless of the result previously, and same as in Sydney. So I feel like it won't change it, but yeah, same as the Souths Bulldogs game. I think they're playing round 15 again in a couple of weeks, and I think they'll get a big crowd regardless of the result Souths fans got a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, just adding on to yours, Lukey. I think like, you know, we lost. Oh no, we actually beat. Say if I'm a Penrith fan, right, and we beat Penrith, they're going to be hungry though. So I want to verse them like ASAP. We want to beat them again. So that's probably the only positive I see around, you know, versing a team in such a close time, I guess. But yeah.
And Presto, you mentioned earlier, like, you know, we played the Storm in round 21, or the Roosters played the Storm in 21-26. You said that's going to be brutal. How do you think, you know, and that's always traditionally a very physical clash. You know, players come out of it injured. Do you think that such turnarounds for those sort of clashes put more added risk for player recovery?
Yeah, I think so. And like, if there's short turnarounds, and then we got obviously Storm twice in like a short amount of time, I think it will affect players. And like your players like Radley, they're going to get up for it. And I think a few times against Melbourne, Radley's come off at second best, HIA or something. So I think and look, you know, Melbourne, they're a big club, they're a big team, and yeah, I think it's going to affect their recovery. And obviously heading into the finals, God only knows, Storm at that time of the year.
Because we've seen it before in the last few years where like the Chooks have gone up against like Souths, because Souths do turn it up against the Chooks. We've gone up against the Storm, and the next week the Roosters are just flat on their feet because they were just gassed the week before.
Yeah, I think I found that could have been, was it last year we were making that run for the 8? I think we're versing a few hard teams, but we're just getting through it. And then I think, God, I don't know what team we versed, but we got to that point in the season and then we just got flogged, I think.
Yeah, I think you're thinking 2 years ago, because we went down to Melbourne and we'd done all right.
Yes.
And then they just rolled us, and it was, you know, you could just tell the boys were flat. They just had nothing left because, as you said, when you're playing those games back to back to back, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
Especially travel and things like that.
2 years ago, and you two were at Melbourne that game, and I think we lost like 38-10. We got pumped.
And the 2 games before it, we were in doubt. Like the Souths game, we had so many players out, ruled out the night before, like Tupou and Manu. We upset them to make the 8, and then the week after against Cronulla, all those HIAs and sin bins, we still won.
Yeah, by the field goal.
Literally,
right.
what was it? 12-10 or something like that. We ended up winning
13-12.
13-12, yeah.
So I think they were just tired come that week against Melbourne.
Yeah.
And you touched on this a little bit earlier as well, Jordan, about the broadcasting.
Yeah.
Do you think the broadcasting deals and the broadcast itself, like Channel 9, even though the majority of the games are on Fox, Channel 9 is the main broadcaster due to the legal obligations that they have for public access. Do you think Channel 9's having too much say on who plays when and where?
I don't think the NRL would admit it, but I think so. And look, it's common knowledge that if the Broncos are playing on a Friday night, they get the 8 p.m. time slot. Like, everyone knows it. Channel 9 makes sure that happens, I feel.
I was quite shocked to see Broncos playing on a Sunday.
So were they, I think. They were like, what the fuck is that thing in the sky? That's called the sun, mate.
Funnily enough, did you notice the time slot they had on the Sunday? They had the 4:05 game, the Channel 9 game.
Yeah, so there you go. So Channel 9, I reckon they have a big influence on the draw, 100%.
Yeah. And look, to be fair, Penrith Broncos, you want that game being shown, but, you know.
But there were so many games, like we said, like there was 3 contenders for match of the round.
Yeah.
And 2 of those games would never be the main fixture on free-to-air TV.
100%. And I think that's where, you know, we were talking offline in our chat about the broadcast deals that are coming up. And I think there needs to be a bit more respect given to some of the other clubs. Like, I'm lucky I can watch games on Foxtel, on Kayo, things like that. So I get to see them all no matter what.
Because you're a billionaire.
No, because I leech off my parents and use their Foxtel login, thank you. So it's free. But, you know, I don't travel everywhere like Luke does.
Yeah.
He's the billionaire.
Not
but
everyone lives in Cronulla.
settle down, mate. It's Guy Mia, thank you. Get it right. We're classier. But I think there's a huge impact that where, you know, 9 would be going, hey, we want these games, or at least we want X amount of games. I think if you really deep dived on the draw, you'd find that Broncos probably have the most Friday 8 p.m. games in
100%.
the NRL. And if they don't have the Friday, they've normally got the Thursday.
And I'll just quickly add, I could be totally wrong here, but maybe just last year, during the Origin period, I think that's when you see like a Friday night, like your Titans nights. Because during Origin, all those players are out. That's when they get Channel 9. They'll be like, all right, we'll give Titans a game.
But I've actually
charity game.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've got a theory behind that, right? So I thought about that because I was hoping one of you would ask it. Because normally, right, you look at the big clubs, they're missing a lot of players. There's a lot of reserve graders that come up to play. A lot of those clubs, respectfully, are still at full strength. So their full strength is probably going to be a better viewing than most teams' half strength because of Origin players and that. So they, you know, the broadcasters sitting there going, we're giving you the full product because we're not giving you reserve grade versus reserve grade. That's my thought.
No, I agree.
Speaking of, I just want to make one comment about the broadcaster. Have you boys listened to the Sky Sports coverage from New Zealand?
I don't mind it, eh?
How I love them. They are so one-eyed and so biased in their call. It is just adorable because it's, you know,
You hear that Kiwi accent as well.
Like it's not a good try by the opposition. It was just a bit lucky there to get some points.
Yeah, it's like you watch a guy go 100 meters. It's like, yeah, that was a total fluke that he managed to outrun them all. Like as if an invisible wire tripped all the Wires players on the way through.
I think because maybe, you know, they're the only New Zealand team. They probably just show a bit of bias towards them on the commentary.
You got it. They've got a gas, They've got to pump them.
Sky Sports, at least they're getting it right somewhere. According to Luke Keary, they're not getting it right in England.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I had to throw that one in.
I know we talked about it last week, but watching the Super League, they spend half the game, I reckon, plugging the NRL.
Yeah, 100%. I find out sometimes more about the NRL from watching the Super League than I do watching the NRL.
Yeah, and speaking of Super League, like after we went on our Super League deep dive last week, Kiri then came out a few days later and said he doesn't even watch it. Like, he can't actually consume Super League, and he plays in the comp.
Yeah, I mean, he went brutal on that because I think the direct quote was something like, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, I play in it and I can't even effing watch it.
Yeah.
So that tells you something.
Could be because where he watches it could be in French.
Well, so the Super League are actually talking about fining him for those comments. So they're actually working on fining him for it, but they've said that could be the issue because he's in France. He's not getting the same access that they get in England.
Could you imagine if Reece Walsh just said that about the NRL? He's like, I play in it, I can't even watch it. I think there would be a fine coming his way.
No, I think everybody would just go, it's all right, mate, you playing it, we don't want to watch you.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think people would prefer that because they'd be like, all right, see you, bro.
Oh, speaking of watching, did you guys see the boo of Ezra Mann?
I wasn't in the game, but
I heard it because we'd actually left by this point, but I was watching it as we were walking out, and you could hear it.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
what do you think that is? Like, obviously, we know what's happened to Ezra. You think a few Brisbane fans were booing as well? Or?
I think it was everybody. I don't think it was I think even Brisbane fans were booing because I think a lot of them don't want him.
there's one of my favourite indulgences on Facebook is I really effing hate the Broncos. It's one of those pages that are out there and they just, deep dive on the hate onto the Broncos. But outside of that, there is a lot of people that are upset over the suspension that he got relating to the matter that was before the courts. And I think, community expectations around, this is diving back into a lot, goes up to that blow up between JT and Spencer.
Well, so funnily enough, you bring that up. I obviously told you boys, and Luke was there for this. I actually got into a bit of an argument at Caxton Street on Sunday, Arvo. So the Caxton Street burger shop, they were, giving out free burgers. So Kennedy, Charrington.
You would love that, mate.
Mate, I got half a burger off Millie Boyle and a photo. I was happy. Oh, sorry, Millie Elliott. Apologies. But JT was there. And me being...
That photo.
the photo. Actually, I should send that you that photo so you can show the people the photo I got. I'll have to send that to you. But, I was doing what I do. Spencer.
Bit of a head noise for him.
What was there? A Spencer?
I was 10 metres behind Jordan and the stares the Queenslanders were giving him. I was so scared for him.
And I was going off my rocker because there's a Queensland fan, or he was a Broncos fan, because I'd just done a Spencer's your daddy chant. And, as I do. And these blokes turned around and tried to give me a gobful. And I went, you know what? How about you go give that idiot over there a gobful? And I was talking about JT. He's a damn good player, but he's got no clue. He's all happy to speak out about someone calling someone a monkey, right? I said, and respectfully so, that obviously upset Ezra, so whatever it is. But you know what? I bet you if everyone came out about Ezra calling the Islander players from Penrith coconuts, which he did in the grand final, which he scored a hat-trick in,
and it was picked up on audio.
And it was picked up. Do you reckon the NRL would have suspended him 8 games for calling them coconuts? Or would they have gone, nah, it's fine? Or, as Spencer said, our culture, we let that go. We accept that. But the moment, and I've deep dived on this, and he was asked the question, JT was asked about Ezra Mam, he refused to answer. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to stand up there and you want to talk shit about Spencer Leniu, you got to cop it and wear it on your face when you should have been talking shit about Ezra Mam at the same time. So I gave it to him, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think just bringing that back to the events at Magic Round, that boo wasn't to do with that debacle, that issue. And Spencer put his hand up and admitted it, copped it on the chin and dealt with it the right way. But, just, a lot of fans are upset about the double standards that happen within the NRL in regards to player misconduct. You've got the no-fault stand down, and, I think that's a fantastic thing for them because, that player needs to be away from the public eye to deal with that matter and have that privacy.
For sure.
But, how do you justify, a high shot on a player? Or let's take Todd Carney, for example, in the Todd Carney incident a few years ago. Yeah. He made an absolute arse of himself. He did it to himself, and he paid the ultimate price for his career.
Yep.
That was nothing compared to jumping in a car, allegedly under the influence, allegedly unlicensed, and then crashing and injuring someone.
Pretty crazy, isn't it?
And the other thing that I like to mention about that, though, is that wasn't the first time he'd gotten in the car that day. So he'd knowingly done it multiple times because he was moving house. That was what was reported. So allegedly he was moving house. But it's funny because we saw Jimmy Maloney at the Pass It On clothing event. And obviously Jimmy got fired for drink driving when he was a coach for the Cowboys.
That's right, yeah. And that was only last year.
Yeah, he got fired for drink driving. Ezra, I feel, has gone above and beyond that and got a 9-game suspension. It's not okay.
My opinion, if Spencer didn't do what he did last year and get the AOX suspension, I reckon they would have given Ezra maximum 5 or 6.
They would have went heavier, you reckon?
The only reason they gave him 9 was because if they gave him less, they would have said, but Spencer got 8 for calling you a monkey.
I think you're spot on there, and I think the NRL have been smart about what they've done. They've brought him back against the Rabbitohs. So technically his first game eligible is the Rabbitohs, and I think they've done that intentionally.
Yeah. Well, it definitely opens up a can of worms.
And that's next weekend too, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think he'll be playing first grade straight away. But, yeah, mate, I tell you what, I don't care when he comes to Sydney, but I'll be booing him.
Yeah. All right, well, let's roll into round 10, shall we? So Eels and Dolphins to kick off the round at CommBank. Eels are paying $1.78, Dolphins $2.08. I'm going to go Para here. I don't know why I keep going bloody Para, but I feel like they're going to get a win at home.
I like it because it just keeps you just that little bit away from the rest of us in the tipping comp.
Yeah, I don't know. I just reckon they played okay against Cronulla. Obviously, Dolphins had a big hit out against us Chookies.
Mitchell Moses field goal or not?
I'm
this
going to
week?
go. Well, on the ESPN, they said the margin, and I went 1. Moses field goal.
Oh,
Moses
this guy.
field goal. So yeah, no, I'm going to go Para there, and then Knights Titans on the Friday. I think Knights, they're going to have a lot of confidence coming off that win
They
at
are, aren't
Suncorp,
they?
and they're going to blow Titans off the park.
Yeah, Titans are just all sorts.
Especially in the second half. Like,
And that's up at Seabus, isn't it?
No,
No.
that's up at Nui.
Oh, is it?
that's
they're gonna
McDonald
get,
Jones.
Yeah, they're going to get
Might
a
get round
big
to
crowd there, mate. You know,
Friday
you're
night.
at Novocastrian. They're going to pack it out. And at $1.52, Titans paying $2.54 for the punters out there. I'm going to load up on Newcastle.
Yeah, no, I'd back that as well. I think Titans, Knights 13 plus.
Yeah.
I think the Knights going to, especially in that second half, Fletcher Sharp was just going to run right on them.
Yeah. So, Benny, mate. So, Souths against Donkeys
Yeah.
in the Broncos. Look, Broncos coming off that disappointing loss, and then Souths are still without a lot of their cavalry.
Yeah, I think. Look, I'm going Donkeys 1 to 12.
I like it.
Yeah, it's just the lack of players at Souths that do that for me. I think even half of the players that are out were back there. I think obviously we're recording before the team lists come out, but if Try Gray's out, that's a huge loss for.
Well, his was reported as a cork, so he's a
Okay,
possibility,
maybe.
but they lost Mamazelis to a dislocated
Yeah.
elbow, so that's
Yeah.
another one that hit
Yeah.
bites
So
at us.
they're the walking wounded at the moment. And as much as I love to see South suffer, like we all do, I feel like I like to see them suffer when they're fully strength because they've got no excuses.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I pay them that respect and say, they're the walking wounded. And, unfortunately, I think, Donkeys 13, 1 to 12.
I think 1 to 12 as well. I think Wayne's going to try and get Souths up best as he can at a core. But
He might even put the boots on and run out at this stage.
I was
He
going to say
might.
he might be playing halfback for them because they're onto about the 7th string, but
if he plays, I'll be rolling him back into the sheds in a wheelchair, mate. He's that old. Come on.
no,
let's be
come
fair
on,
dinkum.
come on, mate. He's only got to go to the dentist and get his tooth fixed up.
Yeah, he's came out.
He's fitting in with the
He
Redfern
finally
lifestyle.
got the South Sydney life
Dental
membership.
page.
Yeah,
No,
so
I think Bennett running out would be like in that episode of The Simpsons where Monty Burns is in the footy gear.
so for the punters out there, South's $3.22 and Broncos $1.35 seems about right.
I think the Donkeys are going to kill them. I reckon it's going to be 13 plus.
Yeah, they're going to be a bit sore after that.
When you
Yeah.
get flogged at Suncorp on Magic Round,
Not once, but twice.
not once but twice, they're going to look. I reckon what they've done to the Dogs isn't even half of what they're going to do to South
Yeah.
this weekend.
Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy every bit of it.
Oh,
Because
so
of
will
South
I. Nice relaxing Saturday right before I play baseball.
Now, this game, I'm calling it the game of the round.
I think so. I think it's
In
gonna-
Canberra versus the Doggies. Now, Canberra $1.94, Doggies $1.90. What are you
Pretty
taking
tight.
out of it?
I think. Look, I've got a lot of love for the Doggies this year at the moment. I'm loving what he's on and off the field for them, but just the momentum behind Ricky and his Green Machine, they're so dialed in. They are just so fixed, and I think if they can pull off what they've done against the Storm on the weekend in those conditions, it will be a tough battle. I think it might come down to the same similar score, maybe golden point, penalty, no more. But yeah, I'm backing the Raiders. I've got down here 13 plus, but having a look at that sports bet stat there at the moment, I think it will be 1 to 12.
I can't split him. What do you think, Lukey? What do you think?
Mate, I think the Raiders are gonna put it on them. I reckon they'll get a sold out GIO. I know three quarters of Belmore are making their way down Saturday morning to Canberra.
Fish
Yeah,
week,
good.
you mean?
Mate, I think they should just no point in going. I think Canberra's going to turn it on only because the injuries and the suspensions, mainly the suspensions at the Doggies. If Preston
True.
doesn't get on,
Especially if
But
Preston does
Yeah,
well.
but the Doggies got a lot of fight in them though, and like I said last week, the game against the Titans and bouncing back after a big loss, after having so many players out from suspension and injury, is going to be a big marker for the Doggies on how they're viewed for the rest of the season. Like, was the first 6 weeks just euphoria and riding the high, or are they actual contenders? And their performance against, even though a beleaguered Titans, still showed that they're a dominant side. And I think this will be a real test for them. So I think they're going to come out firing and give it all.
There's going to be 3 keys to the Doggies getting up. And I think the Raiders are going to win, but if the Doggies are to win, Max King's got to lead from the front.
Yep.
Karaz and Tracy have to have the best games of their lives.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's what will be the key to their success if they can do it.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, we'll roll into Dragons versus the Warriors down in Wollongong. Dragons paying $2.13. Warriors favourites at $1.72.
Yeah, I think, look, the way the Dragons played, like, Jaden Sewer's probably not going to bomb a try like that ever again, but I've gone the Warriors.
No, that's his Ben Hunt moment. No matter what Jaden Sewer does, that is what he's going to be remembered for.
And, like, to be honest, like, he's a good try scorer, so the fact he bombed that, I couldn't believe it. But I just think the Warriors, they're going to let the Dragons back into the game, but if they're smart, they can get themselves a good early lead, they'll be right and they'll be comfortable and they should get up there.
Yeah, because like what Preston said before, the Warriors weren't exactly that convincing against the Cowboys. It was a narrow, and that was the same when they beat the Broncos, and that was over in Mount Smart. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, over in...
Thank you, Reece Walsh, for kicking that ball out on the full.
So, yeah, I think I'm going the Warriors, but I'm going 1-12. I think, again, there's a lot of hurt going on in the St. Merge, and we'll see how I think they'll want to prove a point.
And will there be any Wollongong McFlurries, boys, for Kyle?
Maybe, man. Depends. He looks like a cheeseburger. Kyle Flanagan looks like a hamburger
It's like
guy.
a chicken nugget.
Like the hamburger kids meal?
Yeah, like a Mick Happy Meal. And I reckon Shane Flanagan's a tight ass, so it'd be like...
He'll have like a coupon or
Hey,
something.
actually, speaking of Shane Flanagan, sorry to interrupt, boys, but do you want to give the quote from Jimmy Maloney at the Pass It On clothing event about Shane Flanagan?
Oh, mate, I don't know the exact words. I remember, I'll let you say it because I was a couple beers down.
So, just sorry, boys, you made me think of it then. So
Yeah.
apologies to interrupt.
Go ahead.
They were talking about coaches that, these players have been coached by, so Jeremy Lattimore, Dallas Johnson and all that. And Maloney, who's, very terped by that point, turns around and goes, I've been coached by Robbo, Cleary, Bellamy, and then Shane Flanagan. He was the shittest fucking coach I've ever had.
Jeez, I mean, that's pretty harsh. You want to comp with him as well, so...
Yeah, so what's that tell you?
I'll give one thing though about Flano as a coach. When he was at the Sharks, he's a clubman. He really gets involved in the community around the club. And he was heavily you'd find him like cleaning up busting glasses and stuff like that at the Leagues Club at Sharkies. Like, because he was there. He has a very, and I'll always respect him for this. He has he bleeds whatever club he's with. He understands the role that the community plays for the team, and I'll give him that. I'll salute him every day of the week for that.
Oh, so will I, but the way Maloney delivered that line, I couldn't resist, but just enjoying it.
Mate, I'd love to have a beer with Maloney, and I'd like to know, is he better be driving and not drinking after?
Well, he's up my way.
He's playing for a Rimba at the moment.
Yeah,
isn't
he is captain coach over there. He's an old St. Eddie's Bears old boy. So we are in talks with him. I know you boys hit him up to try and get him on the show. So if that does come to fruition, I'll make sure that if you make sure the fridge is stocked, I'll make sure he gets home.
Mate, we might have to R18 that episode, I think.
Oh, we will, mate. All right. Cowboys Penrith. What are you thinking, Jordan? Cowboys $2.35 at home and Penrith $1.60.
I don't think Penrith are losing to anyone twice this year, so I've backed Penrith because I think they're going to take a bit of enjoyment out of what they've done to the Broncos last week. They're going to remember what the Cowboys done to them earlier this year in round 5. So I think they're going to come up and get it. It's not going to be easy because I think the Cowboys are going to be filthy on themselves for not finishing the job against the Wars. But I think Penrith are just going to get over.
I think if those little moments that the Wars were able to get away with, Panthers will be merciless against
100%, and that'll be the huge difference, I reckon.
Yeah.
I think Penrith will get the win, but I think it'll be very close. And I'm sticking to my word, Cowboys. I feel like they're going to make the 8 comfortably this year. And with the game being at home, they'll put a good contest up.
Yeah, nice. And Lukey, mate, Storm versus West Tigers at Amy. Storm $1.22. And I was a bit shocked. Tigers $4.30 considering how good they're going.
Yeah, I feel like this week they're playing a real team, like a crazy team. I feel like after the last couple of losses for Melbourne, they're just going to come out. It's at home in Melbourne, and they're just going to win comfortably, 13+.
Then are you thinking like big? Like, what are you thinking like?
I reckon it's going to be something like 30-12 or 30-14.
I actually reckon Tigers might shock a lot of people here. I've tipped Melbourne, but I think it's going to be a close game. Melbourne, they're in the mud at the moment, I think. And look, I could be wrong, and they're going to just blow them off the park. But I reckon you could be like a 20-16 type of game.
Are you thinking like an Anzac Day Rabbits Storm sort of scoreline?
No.
Like in terms of that closest, like what was that, 24-18 on Anzac
Oh,
Day?
yes.
Yeah, sort of that scoreline.
Yeah, it'll be pretty close, I reckon. What do you boys think?
I reckon it'll be a blowout because I think the Storm. Like, there's a lot of anger in Bellamy. Like his facial expressions.
Do you think Stefano's going to play next week? And who was the other guy who did that?
Trent Liero.
Is he? Will they go to maybe Cup for a bit just to learn their lesson? Because Bellamy's going to be pretty peed off.
I don't think he can afford to put them in Cup just yet, but I can tell you now they will not make the same mistake
I just feel
again.
like Bellamy's going to put them in the car, drive them out to the Dandenongs and go, "You're free now, boys. You're free."
No, they'll get to the field and be like, "All right, Stefano, we're sending you back to West."
All right. And the last game of the round at Brookie, mate, on a Sunday arvo, Manly versus Cronulla, Lukey.
Yeah,
Manly
it's-
$1.66, Cronulla $2.23.
It's a battle of the second best beach, Bondi being first.
Yep,
But,
very good.
You clearly haven't been to Merriweather, mate.
Yeah, to be
Otherwise
all,
I could
all
you.
redhead.
You can get parking in Newcastle. You know that?
Wait, parking? What's that?
But no, I think I reckon it'll be a sellout at Brookie, and I feel like it'll be a close game. They're both doing well right now. I think they're both 7th and 8th on the ladder, or 6th and 7th.
Yeah, they're in the 8. Yeah.
Right next to each other on the ladder. But I feel like Manly will just get the win. Coming off the bye last weekend, I feel like they'll just come out too strong and just get over the line.
Yeah, and big shout to Manly. You know, it's good to see Turbo get through a weekend without pulling a hammy.
Yeah,
No,
it was good.
No, there is rumours that he did do his hammy against the bye. So it's yet to be confirmed.
Remember that time, just quickly. You remember maybe it was a bye weekend?
That was Are you talking about his foot race?
Yeah, on the course.
Yeah, it was in pre-season.
And he injured himself.
Yeah, pre-season.
Classic Tommy. All right, well, let's go on our basket giveaway now. We are going to do a second giveaway this year. Thanks to our friends at the Legal Problem Solvers. We have another hamper to give away. For a chance to win, leave a comment or send a message with either a special game day experience shared with or an impact a maternal figure has had in your life around rugby league. All right, now we'll go left to right. A reflection of a maternal figure in rugby league, maybe from your childhood or going to a game. Luke, mate, what's something that resonates with you?
Yeah, one special maternal figure for me was my mother growing up. Just playing footy, junior footy each week. My mother used to take me to training every Tuesday and Thursday, the games on Sundays, and it played a big part, even though she's a Parramatta supporter. Yeah, love her to death and made me grow up in loving the game that I love now every day.
Yeah, very nice. Was the best part going to Macca's after for a little feed? After a win?
No, mate, that wasn't enough food for me. I'd needed Eljana.
Yeah,
Of course.
I think for me, my mother as well. Just all the game days, playing for the Winston Hills Tigers. And yeah, I think every Saturday morning training should take me to games with her in Cabramatta, Penrith, Campbelltown, wherever, mate. She took me there, so very grateful, very grateful.
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with it and give a shout out to me mum because, like, she was working 2 jobs at the point. So she was getting up at, like, 3 a.m., driving up the coast, getting home to take me to, whatever sport. Even, there was always something on. So she'd take me there. But then, even after that early wake up, she'd still take me to the footy that night. So shout out to my mum. She done it right. She raised me, so she had a lot of problems in her life.
And a big shopping bill, eh?
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, I made her work for it.
Mate, you'd be in the whole orchard farm to feed you.
Excuse me, 2 of
oranges,
them, thank
2,
you.
yeah.
And yourself, Benny.
Yeah, I'd like you boys go, the mum. She's the biggest rugby league fan in our family, and growing up the same, making sure I had my boots, made sure I had my headgear packed in to take me to training and to games on weekends. And as I'm sure your mothers did the same thing of, 1 week everybody takes the jerseys home and washes it and does the oranges and all that sort of stuff. So, we're heading into Women in League round this weekend coming up, and, because of because of my mother and like you boys, like we're able to enjoy the game and grow up in a rugby league family. And yeah, it's a special time of year to celebrate them, not only on Mother's Day, but in Women in League round as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I like how you touched on there, like with the washing and the jerseys. Like, credit to my mother. Some days, if it was a rainy day, the jerseys were that muddy and dirty, and then they'd come out clean as new. So yeah, no, credit to our mothers, eh?
Did your mum use the gurney like mine did? Because that's what mine did. She'd pull the gurney out on them.
I think, Mike Bryce, he was playing league last year and soak him in the bucket. Let him soak.
Ah, yeah,
Let
the
him-
old bucket soak.
Yep, the old bucket soak. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up another great episode of episode 10. And, guys, remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And remember to follow the Legal Problem Solver on Instagram from all of us here at RMTV, it's goodbye.
Have a great night, guys.
Have a great week.
Boy.